Hey everyone, I'm Jared Samuels, and welcome to another episode of What's Behind the Game, where you'll get an exclusive look at how all your favorite athletes eat, train, and anything else you'd like to know. Today on the show, we have Tecora Turner, who I know personally. She's taken over the student org I used to run, and she's a soccer player at UT. So welcome to Tecora.
Hello.
So the first question I would ask is, how did you get into soccer? What's your background and your story?
Basically, I started playing when I was about 5 or 6. My brother played before I did, so I used to go to all his soccer games by force. And then I wasn't my parents weren't really going to put me in it; they were going to put me in track, and I ended up really liking it because I was playing with my brother, so they decided to put me in it as well. And then I've been playing ever since. I played club since I was 6. Then I played high school soccer. Club's more competitive than high school soccer is, but I just played high school soccer for fun. And then I got recruited about my sophomore year of high school. Well, I got started getting recruiting in 8th grade, but sophomore year of high school, I started talking to Texas, and then that's how I ended up coming here. And I committed my junior year, and then I've been here ever since.
Oh wow, so you committed pretty early.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now I saw you were a two-sport star, like track
Mm-hmm.
and soccer. Do you think playing both, or helped you a lot, or do you think once the skills of one helped in the other?
Yeah, I think they overlap a lot, actually. I think if I would have run cross country, that would have been super helpful, but I did not run that just for the conditioning piece of it. But I ran track for the sprints. I ran 100, the 200, and the 400, and it helped a lot with speed. And I'm a forward, so you need speed really to get past defenders and stuff. So I feel that aspect of it really helped me in soccer. It didn't really have much of an overlap, soccer helping with track, but track definitely helped with soccer.
Mm-hmm. And what was your training like in high school? How did you practice?
Well, when I was little, I kind of just practiced my team practices, and then did a little bit outside with my dad whenever we could on the weekends. And then I would usually in high school, it kind of got more intense. So I would, my dad was a track coach, so that helped a lot as well. I would go to school, and then right after school, we'd have soccer practice for 2 hours. And then right after soccer practice, I would have either track or I'd have my competitive soccer practice too. So I'd usually go 2 or 3
Wow.
practices at a time. Yeah, so it was kind of a busy schedule in high school, I would say. And that was right after school ended. But then I would always do stuff with my dad on the weekends, and we had soccer tournaments every weekend and stuff like that. So that was a big portion of it, was a lot of training after school, definitely.
Mm-hmm. And how did you? I saw that you. I was joking around that when I looked at your bio, it made me feel terrible about myself. You had both sports and you exceeded in school. So how were you able to keep all that together?
It's a lot about balance. It's kind of, I feel they're also different, all of the things that I did. So I feel being able to kind of work yourself in different areas and strive for different things, help to keep balance in my life. So if something wasn't going well in one thing, then I could always have something else to turn to. And I had a good support system. My parents always were there for me to help me with whatever I needed. And I had good friends and stuff. So I feel it's a lot of time management, definitely. It makes me, I feel I'm a procrastinator. So being in so many sports and so many things made me have to manage my time better so that I would get things done. So honestly, without it, I feel I would be worse off in school, because it made me more efficient with my time to make sure I got things done, because otherwise I would never be able to turn anything in. So I don't think I've just known life without being super busy. So it's kind of the norm for me, and it kind of is a routine at this point.
Just used to it.
Yeah.
But so if you were struggling a little bit on the track, you had soccer and you had school to just kind of keep it up and keep it going. Cool. So what made you choose Texas? Because it looked like you're from Tennessee.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah. So what made you choose UT?
I think probably my teammates, the people that I knew I was coming here with. I met them early on, in the recruiting process, and that's kind of a big aspect of it in soccer, is meeting the team that you're going to be coming on to. So I feel knowing those people, and I liked what the coach stood for, during the recruiting process, the stuff that she emphasized really hit home with me. So I felt I could find a home here, and it'd be a home away from home. And I knew I didn't want to stay in Tennessee, so I was looking for a place that I could feel comfortable with out of state, that was somewhat comfortable. The girls were nice. The school, my biggest thing I think was, if I got injured or if anything happened, that I would be able to be happy at the school without soccer. So I wanted to go to a place that had good academics and good athletics, and that if the sport was ever taken away, that I would be able to still be happy and want to go to school there.
Mm-hmm. So what advice would you give to a young girl trying to figure out soccer recruiting?
I would say definitely like ask questions. Don't be afraid. Like don't just go along with like what the coaches are saying. 'Cause I feel like there's a lot of things that aren't really said like when you're recruiting, like that you aren't like maybe aware of. Like I feel like they try to present like when you're recruiting. I feel like all coaches try to present like the best image of their program, and I think
Hmm.
it's important to like make sure that you're asking like the tough questions so you can know like what happens like when things don't go well, because like things aren't always going to be like what they show you. And so I
Yeah,
think it's important to like ask questions, make sure that you do your research about the school, make sure you find somewhere that you will be happy even if you don't have the sport, because like you're not guaranteed to play, you're not guaranteed to stay healthy all 4 years. Like there's a lot of factors and a lot of people transfer. So I feel like if you want to make a decision right, I think you should take your time and like don't rush it, and definitely like look into the school and like the coach as well.
hmm.
Mhm.
So what was that transition like, playing going from high school and club into college? Was it kind of seamless, or was it a difficult transition?
I would say it's really difficult actually. I thought I would be really prepared, but actually wasn't. I feel like in high school, because like a lot of the people who you play with aren't as talented as you, because not everyone gets like recruited to play in college. Like you kind of like coast a little bit, especially senior year. Like after I committed, I felt like personally I coasted a lot. So it was definitely a hard transition coming from like I used to, I guess, like previously before I committed, like I probably like trained harder and was like working harder. But I think after I committed and like going into senior year, I think it's really important for like people to keep it up, like keep up their training habits and keep up their work ethic, which will
Hmm.
be hard. Senior year is kind of like a different time for everyone. But I definitely think that it was a hard transition, specifically coming from senior year to becoming a freshman again, because you kind of have that experience of a regular college student where you're in a new environment and you're like not knowing what's going on, you're disoriented, but it's like even more so because you're in like
Right.
you're at the same time. Like you don't know where you are. Like you're in a new state, preferably if you're out of state, you're with all new people with new coaching staff and everything. And like you're trying to do school at the same time. So it's really hard to navigate, I would say, if you don't like prepare yourself beforehand. I definitely think it's important to ask your coaches about like the fitness requirements, because that was a hard transition for me as well, because coming from like a track background, I didn't really have like a huge fitness base because it was more about speed rather than like conditioning oriented running for me.
Hmm.
So I definitely think it's important to like ask your coach what the expectations of you are when you come in so that you can be ready. And I think it's important to make sure you get with all the resources that you have at that school to make sure that you like are using everything available to you academically and athletically to help you succeed.
Hmm. So you talked about like not being healthy all 4 years. It looked like your sophomore season had a knee injury.
Mhm.
How'd you approach that, and your recovery?
Yeah, that was a rough year for me actually, because my freshman year, like I played kind of like for a freshman that was like good to play at all. So I was like very happy with like being able to play, but I was like happy but not exactly satisfied. So I wanted to like play more and like get a starting role on the team. And I actually that season like started the first 3 games. So like I was like I came in like super fit, like worked super hard, and it started as a sophomore. And then on like the fourth or the fifth game, I went down and I was playing in a game at North Texas, and I tore my ACL from like just a weird freak accident. Like a girl pushed me and I like landed weird.
Oh, really?
So yeah, that was rough because I think the fact that I worked so hard to come back and kind of like prove that I was like able to be a starter on the team. That was a hard like fall from like I think it was hard for me because like I'd worked so hard that summer to like be where I was, that like getting
Hmm.
injured kind of was like all that work was like for nothing to some extent. But I think it's really important at like I said before, when you're in the recruiting process, to make sure that when you agree to go to a school, you go somewhere where you are going to like the school whether or not you're able to play. Because a big thing for me was when I was injured, I was still like had a great support system with my friends, and like I had people here that I wanted to be with and people that I was able to like hang out with and do things with outside of the sport. Because I think like at that time, like soccer wasn't like a happy thing for me. Like it wasn't something that I wanted to be like super involved with. And like I felt like I was super detached from the team. So I would say my only thing that I did with that situation was just try to approach my recovery with like it's an attack mindset and try to get back as soon as possible on the field and be like fitter than I ever was and be healthier than I ever was. Because I never wanted to come back on the field and have it happen again. So God forbid it does happen again. But yeah, that was basically my mindset, was just to get healthy quickly and stay healthy and to make sure you like the school you go to, so that if you do get injured, which is what happened to me, you'll be okay.
Yeah, you just have more than just the sport when the sport's taken away.
Mhm.
So it looks like, and I'm not too great with soccer stats, but it looks like you improved every year.
Mhm.
What do you attribute that to? Do you think a lot of it was just becoming familiar with college soccer, or do you think a lot of it was, like you said, you spent one summer just working super hard?
Um, yeah, I don't think it might like look like it was always an upward trend, but I feel like my journey in college at least has been like a very like rocky kind of not rocky, but like roller coastery, if you want to say, like experience. Like I guess in high school, I feel like I coasted because I like in a way, like I said before, I feel like you're just so much better than other people that you play with because they're not really trying to play at the same level as you. So like things came super easily to me in high school, and here this was the first time I ever like not like was not playing, and so that was kind of an interesting experience to go through. Um, it was the first time I experienced like not playing, and it was the first time I experienced not being a starter on a team. So I would say, even though it seems like it was an upward trend, I feel like it's not always like if you look at the fine print, it's not always as upward as it seems. And I think just working hard and trying to stay focused and trying to keep going, even when you don't feel like you're reaching like the goals that you set for yourself. I think setting new goals and trying to attain those is really important.
Hmm. And what role? I mean, you talked a little bit about it already, but what role do your teammates play for you?
They played a really big role. I don't think I would still be playing soccer or even at this school if I didn't have the people that I was surrounded with. I'm just really lucky that I met like amazing people and I'm able to have a great support system within my teams. Like I don't even have like a whole lot of friends off the soccer team, but I'm honestly like found like a great group of people to be friends with like within my team.
Awesome. No, that's great. And how do you train? So, like, we know this is a little bit more about training. So, how do you train for like the specific skills in soccer? So, like, I think I remember reading once there's like a game they play in Brazil where they put them in a smaller compressed space, and they like it's like foosball, not foosball, but I forget what it's called.
Football,
Um,
yeah.
Futsal, yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, how do you work on a specific skill in soccer? Like, let's say you're just trying to shoot better or trying to
Yeah.
dribble better. How do you work on
Um,
those?
Most of the things that we work on are dictated by our coaching staff. So she usually like sets up training before we're even there, and they decide like what we are going to do for that day, whether it's like passing patterns or what they call functional training, where they train each position specifically. There's also like technical work where you can like do, I don't know, drills like dribbling through cones or like Pele series, which is where you like get a ball thrown at you and like hit the ball back out of the air. A lot of things though are dictated by your college coaching staff. I think a lot of people do work on their own, where they work on like shooting or specific things like to their position. Like I work on a lot of turning with my coaching staff because I'm a forward, so my back is like to pressure most of the time. So I
Mhm.
have to like be able to turn defenders and shoot, or at least like play make from those situations.
And do you like when you go on the field? So, is it so your coach makes the determination? Do you ever like when I talked to we talked to Colin Johnson? He said some days he just goes there. He doesn't have a plan. He just goes and works on something.
Yeah.
You're more like it, more of a plan of what you're going to work on and what you're going to do.
Yeah, I don't usually work out on my own as much. I used to a lot when I was like younger, but in college I haven't found like the time to be able to do that. So
Mhm.
usually our coaches like make a period of time before practice where people can come out and work with them like individually on things that they want to work on. And usually I pick like turning or shooting because as a forward, like those are things that I prioritize.
Mhm. Now, how do you like prepare or approach mentally before a game? Like, what do you try to like visualize yourself before a game, or
Yeah, I think a lot of people do that. Honestly, my approach is pretty simple. I just kind of listen to music with my teammates or like talk to my dad or like coaches or anything, or just talk to my friends, try to kind of keep the nerves
Mhm.
aside. So yeah, I don't really do much.
Yeah, this is a simple routine.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, what do you hope to accomplish like moving forward?
Honestly, I think this year my main goal is just to be kind of finish the season happy and healthy and just have a good last year. And hopefully we can win a Big 12 championship. That's like our ultimate goal as a team. That's the only thing I really want, just be happy, healthy, and come home with a ring.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to mention this a little bit, but can you talk a little bit about the Team Luke org?
Oh yeah, of course. It's actually been a really important like part of my college career, and I'm really happy that I joined because it's a great experience and it helps like a good cause. Basically, what we've been doing is trying to revitalize the organization to make it where we have a more like I guess group oriented approach to it, and we have people like put a face to the name so that people can know who they're helping and have a more like revitalized emotions towards it and want to give more money to the cause and like be more involved with volunteering and stuff. So basically, we're helping kids with traumatic brain injuries, raising awareness, raising money, and trying to help them like with their conditions and fun treatment options for them as well.
Yeah, and I'm super excited where you're taking it. I think it's great.
Mhm.
So there's the last question we ask everyone, and it can be more or less. But what are your top 3 recommendations for young athletes?
Ooh. I think one of them is definitely make sure you love the sport, because in college it's kind of hard to remember the love that you had for the sport previously. I'd be like, if you want to play it in college, you want to continue on, make sure that you love it still, because I feel like college can be hard to continue to love the sport if things aren't exactly going like positively for you. So make sure it's something that you love. I would never recommend people to do things that they don't love, because you have to do it a lot every day.
Mhm.
So it's a big commitment. And then I definitely think choose a school where I think my biggest thing is choose a school where if soccer or whatever sport you play is taken away, you'll still be happy. And my third thing is definitely prioritize academics over anything, because your sport can only take you so far. And not everyone, like you can't put how many games you played or how many goals you scored on the resume. So I think prioritize academics, prioritize getting your GPA as high as you can, to make sure you make connections, do internships, and do everything else that's involved in school. Don't put that on the back burner. So I'd say that's my most important thing is academics.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, of
That's
course.
great.